Hi everybody, my name is Angela Cleary. I'm a feminine empowerment coach and I specialise in healing after narcissistic abuse. So today I want to talk about saying goodbye to the old you. So when we start to create a new reality for ourselves, when we do our inner work and our inner healing and create a new version of who we want to be, like create the person we're becoming, we have to say goodbye to the old version of ourselves. Now, this can be harder. It's easier said than done because, when we've known that for so long. It's hard to say goodbye to what we've known. It's hard to fully release it. And even though it's not where we want to be anymore and it's no longer who we are, it can be still very hard to let go. And I've only started to realize this lately. I've been creating a new reality for myself. I've been empowering myself. I've been up-leveling and just making life better, changing my belief system and changing my thoughts. And I've been transforming from a lack mentality into a mentality of abundance and prosperity. And that's all well and good, but I've started to notice, especially since the eclipse energies, I started to notice a few old habits coming back in and a few old thoughts coming back in. But I was like, they were kind of alien to me now. Like the lack mentality thoughts that were coming in, I was like, it doesn't sound like me. It doesn't sound like the new me. It sounds like the old me. I was like, where are these thoughts coming from? And on and off now the last few weeks, they've been kind of coming back in and they've been knocking on my door again. And I have been fearful. I was like, oh my God, does this mean I'm going back to my old ways? Does this mean I'm relapsing? Does this mean that, this is pulling me backwards rather than going forwards? And I started to see that it's not even that. It's the fact that, right, so how do I explain this? When we transform and when we go through life, we embody different versions of ourselves. We embody a version that suits that time of our life, suits those experiences, suits the knowledge that we have for those times. But all these versions of ourselves that we've said goodbye to as we've transformed, they've been temporary versions. So they're easy to let go of. Whereas the version, the conditioned version, the version that has been in that poverty consciousness, the version that has been in that lack mentality, the conditioned version that has learned inherited traits from parents and family members and ancestors, living in struggle, living in lack, living in fear, living in greed, living in debt. That part of ourselves has been there our whole lives. So even though it's been easy enough to let go of the versions of ourselves that no longer suit us, this big version, this main version that we embodied our whole lives is the part we need to actually say goodbye to when we transform completely into a new reality. And that's hard. So for example, what I've kind of likened this to is when we're going through this transformation, we tend to lose friends, family members, change work relationships, stuff like that, because we can no longer tolerate negative energy or toxic energy or low vibrational energy. So when we used to hang around in those circles, we kind of embodied that lack mentality. So it suited us. But it's so hard to leave those kind of those people and those circumstances, especially if it's friends and family members. It's so hard to leave that because we were once them. We were once in that energy. We were once a part of that. And that really, they soothed our soul for the vibration we were in. So it is so hard to say goodbye to those people that we love. And so it's actually kind of harder to say goodbye to the version of yourself that has been there with you your whole life. And that's the thing, I look back on all the old versions of myself and I'm grateful to her, and I no longer condemn her or I'm harsh or punish her, because obviously, we made mistakes when we were younger. We did things that we wouldn't do now. And we're harsh on ourselves and we punish ourselves for these things. But when we grow and learn our own truth, we start to look back and we forgive those versions of ourselves for doing what they did with only the knowledge they had back then. And, so as a teenager, you make these mistakes, as a young adult, you make mistakes. And, as I said, you regret this and you start to punish yourself in later life. But when you heal, you kind of look back and you're more compassionate to your older self. And you're more nurturing towards that version of you, because you understood that version of you was very unhealed, very insecure, had low self-worth, had a lot of trauma to deal with. So you've got more compassion for the old versions of yourself that you've let go on. So you appreciate them. So to let go of the version of yourself that's been there the longest is kind of hard, because you're saying goodbye to a part of yourself. But this version of yourself got you to where you are now. It built you up, it made you resilient, it made you strong. Part of you doesn't want to let go of that because it's so familiar. It's comforting. And that's the thing, it's likened to the comfort zone and, say, taking risks or going on adventures. It's like the ego versus the soul. This is your old self versus your new self. And this is the way I describe it. It's like two different boats. So your old self is on this boat, your new self is on this boat, and you're literally one leg on each. And you're literally being dragged apart. Now, this can liken to the comfort zone and your future, and obviously ego soul as well. But you're literally standing on two boats, and you're literally kind of going, oh my God, where do I go? And you're wobbling, and the boats are kind of drifting further apart, because, you're embodying this new version of yourself because you've got one foot in this area. And then but you're afraid to let go of your past. So you're afraid to actually take that final leap. And that's what I've noticed over the last few weeks, is that my old self is because, right, okay, I've been taking things step by step, and I'm embodying this new version every day. And it's working. And as I said, since the eclipse energies, these thoughts have started to come back into my head. These old habits have started to creep back in. And I was afraid that I was going backwards. But now I'm realizing that it's just literally, I'm scared. I'm scared to let go of everything I've ever known, even though I don't want to be that anymore. And even though I've been embodying the new version and my thoughts have been clear and I've been positive and I've been in a higher vibrational energy, positive energy, opportunities coming in, everything is going well. It's scary to leave what we've known. And obviously it's hard when you're walking away from everything in your life, from friends, family members and narcissistic bosses, all that kind of stuff. And you're like, oh my God, you're doing this on your own. And you're not doing it on your own, you have your angel team, obviously. But you kind of feel this isolation, this loneliness. So the only thing left of your past is the old version of you. And it's like, if I let go of her, it means I'm completely on my own. I'm on this new road, I'm on this new map, and it's just what do I do next? And it's scary. And obviously we're so excited to get into this new reality, and we're already embodying it. We're already there. But we can't actually embrace it fully until we let go of the old version of ourselves. Say goodbye to that old version. And that's what I've started to realize over the last few weeks, is that I'm not going backwards, but it's like the universe catapults you back to the old to propel you forward quicker into your new reality. And I think this is what's happening, because it's kind of showing you what you don't want. Because that's another thing, right? I've noticed lately, obviously when you're in low vibrational energy and you're feeling very lack and you're stuck in your comfort zone, you're afraid of change. You just don't want change, you want to stay in the old. But as you embrace this new reality, you get excited for new things, you get excited for change, you get excited for what's ahead. But you're still we have this mentality of but I know this road. This is familiar. This is comfortable. Well, we think it's comfortable. The comfort zone is not comfortable. It really isn't. But we try stuff. We try new things and we get excited and it's great. And like, this is the thing, right? I've been guided to try different things, new things, just little things, right? And I'd be like, oh, this is actually quite cool. This is probably better than the way I was doing it before. And you're like, yeah, I'll stay doing this. But then say you end up trying to do it the old way again. You do the new way for a little while and you're like, this is good. This is better than the last way. I like this. But then you end up doing it the old way again because you're like, oh, I like it. I'm used to this. This is comfortable. I'm going to try this again. Go, fuck it. We'll go back to what we're used to. And then you try what you're used to and you're like, this doesn't fit anymore. This isn't what? And then you kind of question how you were actually able to do it that way up until you changed. You know what I mean? You kind of like, this really doesn't fit me. And it's the same when you walk away from people and, relationships and stuff. You walk away, you embody this new reality and you're like, yes, this is for me. I'm excited, new ahead, out with the old, in with the new. But then you kind of go, but we'll try it again. So like you might go back to an old relationship, you might reconnect with old friends or reconnect with people that you set boundaries with. Just to say, fuck it, it wasn't that bad, was it? Then you go back and you're like, oh, okay, it was that bad. Oh, okay, this is why I left. And then you're like, because you left and you're after transforming into this new version, you kind of go back for a taste and you're like, oh, this does not fit anymore. This is icky. This is not what I want. This is not comfortable for my soul. So we have to kind of understand that comes in as well when it goes back to your old reality. You embody this new version. And as you said, you're still on the boat. Your legs are still here like this. And you're only tasting this new version while keeping your toe on this other boat, on your past version. Because you're afraid. You're afraid if you take this risk and it doesn't work out, you'll have nothing. But the way I see it is living in this old reality, it's not nice. And like, that's the thing, when I'm embodying this new version and the self-image beliefs, the lack mentality, the fear-based thoughts kept creeping back in over the last few weeks. A few bad habits from my past started creeping back in. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like me. And it's my voice and it's the old me. It's her. She's right there. It's who I was. And it's saying it in my head. And I'm like, that doesn't fit anymore. That doesn't sound right. Because I know that is no longer who I am. And as I said, it's kind of like she's just there kind of tugging on me to go back. She doesn't want me to leave. And a part of me doesn't want to leave her. Because she's the last bit of comfort I have from my past life. And I'm afraid. We're afraid to do anything alone, really. We're afraid to take those risks. But because the old version is such a big part of who you were and how you got to where you are now, it is hard to let that go. It is hard to say goodbye. But I've come to realize with these lessons over the last few weeks is that I can't fully jump onto this new boat, jump into this new reality. I can't fully embody it. I can't fully embrace it until I completely get off this old boat, completely say goodbye to my former self. And that is hard. That is hard. And I've started to liken it to saying goodbye to a real person because effectively she was a real person. She was me. She was who I was. She was who I am. I don't know, it's so confusing. But yeah, like that's it. Like, she was a big part of my life for my whole life. Her beliefs were what I believed up until I transformed. She's all I know. And even though I don't agree with her thoughts were negative, fear-based, lack, low self-worth, very anxious. I don't want those thoughts anymore. And when they creep back in, I'm like, they're not my thoughts anymore. The new me does not think like that. I do not feel this way anymore. I don't want to embody that energy anymore. And that's why you walk away from people as well, is because you don't want to be around low vibrational negative energy. And that's the thing. Your old version is a little bit toxic when you think of it that way, because it's negative, it's low vibrational, and it sucks the life out of you. You get me? So in a sense, you're saying goodbye to the last toxic person, because that last toxic person is you, in a sense. And I don't like calling myself toxic, and I wasn't toxic, but low vibrational negative energy is toxic. So I had toxic traits by thinking in that energy. So, I made the hardest decisions to walk away from friends and family members to create this new reality for myself, to walk away from low vibrational toxic negative energy. And it turns out that there is a part of myself, my old self, that had those energies. And I cannot embody this future that I have for myself created, which is in reality now. It's here, it's looking at me. I've got a foot into it, I can feel it. I've been embodying this, I've been embracing this. I've been feeling this high vibrational energy for a long time now. But because now that my old self is starting to knock, she's understanding that I have to go. And that's the thing. I had her on the back seat, kind of. I had her there just in case. Why, I don't know, because I don't want her. I don't know if that sounds. I don't want to be that person anymore. But there's this, because we fear jumping out of that comfort zone, because we fear leaving what we've known, because we fear the unknown. It's hard to let go fully. So I was kind of letting her stay, just in case, for some reason, just as a comfort thing, as a connection to my past. And I don't want to be connected to my past. I've forgiven my past. I've forgiven myself for what I've done. I understand that I'm compassionate to my past selves for the different versions I had to go through, and for having the strength to overcome everything I've overcome. Like, I respect my old versions, and there's so many different ones, because I change every single day. I'm not the same person I was last week, even 2 weeks ago, last year, 6 months. I'm not the same person. I'm changing all the time. But as I said, those versions that I'm changing from, they were temporary. So it was like easier to say goodbye to those. And it was like releasing the old, out with the old, out with the new. It wasn't a big deal. But because of this last transformation, I suppose, this main massive transition, and I'm saying goodbye to the part of myself that was here my whole life, the old version of me that embodied all of my past, it's hardest, and it is hard to let her go. And like I've started to realize that that's why I'm being shown this again over the last few weeks, is because I have to say goodbye. And that's hard. That is hard. It's like you're saying goodbye to somebody that you've known your whole life. And as I said, it's hard to say goodbye to friends and family members when you walk away and set boundaries with them. But, so say effectively your family member has been there your whole life. But you are the one that's been there your whole life. Like, no matter what you've gone through your whole life, you're the one who's always supported you. You might have had external support as well, fair enough, but you're the one that's always been there for you. And to say goodbye to that version of yourself, the version of yourself that has been your support for your whole life. And don't get me wrong, we have a new support now. We have ourselves, our new embodied version, our stronger version, our more resilient version, and we have our angel team, we have our spirit guides, we've passed on loved ones, we've all that kind of support now. It's hard to say goodbye to the one person you have truly known and relied on your whole life, and that is your old self, your past self. And it's difficult. It's difficult to say goodbye, even though you're not that version of yourself anymore. It's hard to let go of something you've known for so long. And that's why I've likened spiritual awakening or transformation to I used to joke when I started my transformation that there was an alien inhabiting my body, because I was doing stuff that my old version would have literally gone, ew, what the fuck are you doing? Like, Do you know, and literally my old version would have hated this version. And now I look back at my old version and I'm like, oh my God, how did I live like that? Oh, that's not nice at all. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, you know, when you transfer, and like, don't get me wrong, you know, that change is good. Like, I've transformed into a better version of myself. You know, whereas my old version would have really disliked my new version. She would have really not liked it because of her conditioned beliefs. You know what I mean? And like, you know, I was a drinker, I was a smoker, I took drugs, I partied a lot, and I still love partying, but dancing is my drug. Music is my drug now. Healthy living is my drug. You know, enlightenment is my drug. Knowledge is my drug. Fucking love learning. But you know what I mean? So, you know, this is it, like, and I've embodied this completely transformative new version of myself. And I finally transformed so much that I have to release the old to move forward quicker. And this is the catapult again. We're pulled back into that darkness, I suppose, to propel us forward even quicker. But we have to let go. We have to let go of that old version. We have to let go of our past self. And this is hard. Like, you know, at the start of the eclipse energies, I was only seeing small little things. And the last week especially, I've kind of gotten all those thoughts back and all that negative energy back. And I know it's not me. You know, it's not taking effect because it's not here to stay. It's here to show me what I don't want anymore. And that's what I was saying as well, is that we try something new. We think, yay, this is good. This is better than I ever did it. And then you try your old thing again because it's familiar and you're like, oh, this is why we don't do this anymore. It doesn't fit. So you have to understand that when you walk away from certain situations, whether it be people, family members, friends, it's all for a higher purpose. It's all for you to grow and learn and pursue your life mission. And now the final person that we have to let go of is ourselves, our old version, our old reality, our past. It's saying goodbye to the past once and for all, but it's saying goodbye to that belief system once and for all. Saying goodbye to the coping mechanisms, to the fear, to the anger, the anxiety. Releasing that part of ourselves once and for all. Because no matter how much we try to embody this new version, which we are doing, things are still going to be slow if we don't get off the old boat. So we have to take that leap, and we have to, and nurture ourselves through it. And I've been guided this week to do a lot of resetting, as I said, in a sense, to let go of the old, to start again. But in a sense, I've been guided to rest into it, as in like embody what's happening, nurture what's happening, integrate what's happening, ease myself through it, transition through it at a comfortable pace. Because, you know, at the start of the energy, I was like, it was only small, and I was like, grand, okay, we'll get through this, it's fine. But I didn't actually sit and ask myself the reasoning. And that was it. Like, you know, I thought it was just, okay, it's just a catapult to move forward, grand. But over the last week especially, I've, after being shown the messages and guided to understand what it's really about. And this is my final release. This is me saying goodbye to the last lower rational person in my life, which is my old self. It's the hardest. I think it's going to be the hardest. Like, I'm still doing it. I'm still kind of releasing her. And it's only over the last few days that I've realised that's what I have to do. And that's when it started to hit my heart, was like, oh shit, like, this is the last person I know from my past, in a sense. Do you know what I mean? This is the last person from my old reality. This is the last person from my old version of myself. This is the last person that I've, I suppose, depended on for the last 36 years. Do you know what I mean? So it's harder, I suppose. I have to nurture through the fact that I have to release her and be compassionate about it as well. You know, it's like releasing a real person, because that person was you. And she was very real, and she got you to where you are now. Like, she got me to where I am now. You know, and the same for yourselves. That old version was your biggest support network. You were your biggest support network. You still are, but she doesn't exist anymore. That old, negative, low vibrational version of you no longer exists. But if you still kind of try and hold on to her, you're going to be slow in moving forward. So let her go. Say goodbye once and for all, and understand that she doesn't exist anymore. That old reality doesn't exist. Your new reality does, you know, which is full of love, prosperity, opportunities, and abundance. That lack energy, that low vibration energy does not exist anymore. And this is the last low vibrational person you will ever have to release, because you will only attract in high vibrational energy from here on in. So thank you so much for listening today, and I really hope this resonates. And if it does, please like and share, and please subscribe to my channel so I can reach as many people as possible. And if you would like help in your journey, please book me for a discovery call today, and I would love nothing more than to help you on your path. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.